Hey y'all, my name is Mel, and this project is meaningful to me because it's a platform we created for women to freely express themselves and be the loud and proud, confident women that they're entitled to be.
Hey, I'm Vicky, and just like Mel, I've been in and witnessed too many situations where I felt prejudged and misunderstood, or even worse, was provoked and later on was labeled as crazy for loving myself enough to stand up for me.
Honestly, if I had a dollar for each time I've been called crazy or too much, simply for standing up for myself or asking questions when things didn't add up, I'd be on an island I bought with that money right now. And I almost started to believe it, that it was me. But then I realized over time that my voice was my power. And through my story and through this podcast, I hope to inspire women from all walks of life to find their courage and speak up.
I'm beyond over being told to take it, and I wanted to be the voice for the ladies who aren't quite ready to roar just yet.
Women aren't to be placed in a box. We come from different backgrounds and have different journeys, and that's pretty much how we become ourselves and find our purpose. So a man has no place telling us how to be, neither does society. I really hope women listen to this podcast and feel heard and realize there's nothing wrong with a little crazy as long as it means you're freely expressing yourself.
This podcast will touch on all things woman. Let's get crazy.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Crazy Bitch Factory. You have myself, Melissa, and Vicky on the line, ready to start, ready to talk about different topics. Basically, today, what we'll do is a little recap on November, simply because we haven't really had the opportunity to get on and, record many episodes or give you much content. We are working on that. We're simply transitioning in our own personal lives. So I'm pretty sure I'm missing something. Vicky, go ahead.
No, I don't think you're missing anything. We have been transitioning in our own personal lives, moving from one city to the next. And of course, we're in two separate countries completely. So, working on a podcast um, long distance is hard enough. But then, on top of being in a transition and like I know you're dealing with like homeschooling your kids, and
Mm.
I'm working from home from Monday to Friday, and like, you know, just life, quarantine life, that 2020 life. It's been
Oh yeah.
um it's been hard, but I think it's important to note that we're not like it may have slowed down a little bit, but we're not giving up or letting go of our podcast because we've been talking about this for years.
For
So it's great to
years. Oh my
finally
God.
it's
Oh my
great to
God. For
finally
years.
have
Just
it
exactly. Just to give a little
started.
background story. Vicky and I are known for our rants. Like
Yup.
that's what we do. We'll get ourselves a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I don't know how much I can say on here, but we'll get ourselves a little bit of this and a little bit of wine, and we'll just, it just on behalf of like whatever the fuck is going on in our personal lives, just start ranting. And it's
Mhm.
entertainment for the both of us. It's entertainment for anyone who has the pleasure to be there and listen to the nonsense we have to say. And so we decided that, like, and it's also impactful. I think that mostly it's like the impact that we noticed, the feedback that we would get from, our friends or acquaintances that be like, hey, I heard your rant last night, girl. I feel you. A lot of people don't have the
Right.
courage to, or like they're scared or they're afraid of what people might think, or you know what I mean. We're not. I personally don't care who likes me
Don't give a
from who doesn't.
fuck.
I genuinely, I never really meant it the way I mean it today. I used to be like, oh, I don't care who likes me, and then still it would make me feel away. Today,
Mhm.
now, the person that I am today at 31 years old, after being through the life experiences that I've been through, I can genuinely say that I don't care if what I'm saying is right, and I stand by it 10 toes down into what the fuck I'm saying. I will stand in that shit whether you like me or not. That's just, you know what I mean? So I feel like that's where Vicky and I
Yep.
step in, and we're the voice for the women um who feel what we're saying and who are going through the struggles and the maybe how can I say, are going through the struggles that we go through as Black women or just as women in general, but just don't have, they're just like, oh, well, that's how society's built, or, oh, well, that is just is what it is. It's not. We all have the power to make a change and to elevate ourselves into the next level in life. Everyone has a purpose. You don't have to be like or do anything like anybody. And that's what we decided to start this podcast for.
Hmm.
I'm
Yep,
excited.
totally agree. So that's pretty much what that is. How it started was us just having our regular old conversations that turn into rants because we be so passionate about what we're talking about that it, not on purpose, but 9 times out of 10 it turns into a rant, and people
Yep.
think it's insightful, relatable, and humorous. So we kind of were just like, yo,
Hmm.
let's make this a thing. So it's been like, I feel like there were times where, like, without having a conversation, I feel like there were times where we're both kind of like, I don't see that happening for a long time, or like kind of like giving up on it. But things happen in time and when they're supposed to, and with the people they're
Hmm.
supposed to. So I feel great now that it started in the way that it has, and the
Yeah.
team that we have, I love.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that and how we started this and where we've been, what's been going on, whatever else. But anyways, today we're gonna talk about what the hell's been going on in November 2020. So just a quick recap um, on a plethora of little topics that's been going on throughout the month of November. And I think the most important one to start with, which is what kicked off the month pretty much, is the US 2020 elections
Hmm.
and the fact that Joe Biden won, and Kamala Harris is going to be the first female, the first Black, the first East Indian, the first West Indian um, vice president of the United States. And I think that's dope. Like, she's
Yep.
killing off a lot of firsts. And
Yep.
we bring this up because the main there's so many things we could focus on um, as far as the election goes, but I think the main two that we want to focus on today are a people's nonsense comments about how Kamala Harris is not suitable for office because she's a woman and she has female emotions and might act on them.
Ridiculous.
God forbid. Like, and then the second one is that we obviously have to talk about Trump being a big old crybaby of a loser. So, Melissa,
Mwah.
I'll let you get started. How do you feel about people saying,
Hmm.
like, you know, women are too emotional to be in power?
Women are too emotional. Like, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. My whole life, I have been called dramatic. My whole
Yep,
life, because of
to
my
this day.
passion. To this day, because of my passion, when I speak, I speak with confidence, and it's because I'm not going to open my mouth unless it makes sense. I'm not going to open my
Exactly.
mouth unless you know what I mean, unless it's what's right for the moment right now. I mean, absolutely no disrespect, it just is what it is. So people don't like strong Black women. They don't like it. They don't like strong women,
They don't
period.
like it at
It's
all.
always just like she's being emotional. She's so people saying that, like, Kamala Harris, who has not demonstrated any type of dramatic behavior, or she's been in a whole debate with a man where she's just looking at him while he got a fly sitting at the top of his head, and then even burst into laughter. Look, if it was
Mm.
me, I'd be like, boy, you sitting there with a fly on top of your head, you better get out of here. You know what I mean? She sat there during a whole debate while this man had a piece of fly on his head and did not budge. She stayed on topic. She didn't go on him or nothing. Like, my thing is just like, I don't remember a time in history where a strong woman, and we're talking about like Michelle Obama or whoever has been um in a position of power, that has like had some type of whiny crybaby type of behavior, for them to just reference back over to, like, oh, there was such and such. They did it to Serena Williams when she got upset. I don't really follow tennis. I know who she is just because she's really involved in pop culture. Okay, you know what happened. You know what it is. Okay, so Vicky's gonna get y'all hip to
Bitch.
that. But I know that there was like this French caricature journalist fucking drew her as like an angry ape or whatever, and then it was just like everyone was just like, oh, she was just such a in the history of women getting upset. It's always like, oh my god, like what's going on here? But men can just like turn red and literally not want to say that they lost an election. But and it's like that's okay. Come on now, go on ahead, Vicky. What happened to Serena, just so we can use it as a reference and an
Oh my
example?
God, I have so many things to say. So, first of all, just to complete your reference for Serena, listen to me. As I told you before, my dad, in his mind, I was going to be like the next black tennis player. Like, he's never signed me up for tennis lessons or anything, but he just felt like that's what my career path needs to be. I watched tennis my whole life growing up with him, and I'm pretty sure I've told you before that Serena and Venus were like two of my childhood idols because my like we watched tennis so much in my household that it was like they were on their come up at the time. They played it seemed like they
Mm-hmm.
played every game. Like, and those were the only
Yeah.
games that my dad really watched. Like anytime I would tell him who's playing, he was like, duh, Venus, Serena. Like that's who he watched. So
Mm-hmm.
all that to say this, in tennis, you have it's kind of like a it's like seen as like a high class type sport, like golf, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be very like you have to show good sportsmanship and stuff like that. So in tennis, if you like, don't agree with the call or you miss the ball or whatever the case, you miss the point, you're
Mm-hmm.
not supposed to like freak out and break your racket and yell at the ombudsman, who is the person who calls the shots. Basically, he's the person who sits at the top of the game and he sees when the balls go out or when they're in or whatever happens. And sometimes the players are allowed to contest it and be like, run it back, let me see it in slow mo because I don't agree with your call. But you can't be like disrespectful to the ombudsman because he'll be like, bitch, I docked you 1 point. Like, you know what I mean? There's consequences and penalties.
Mm-hmm.
So this rule only seems to apply though to women tennis players, and even more so to
That's
Serena,
crazy.
who's a dark-skinned black woman. And I say this because Serena said it herself, and even for a person who's watched tennis my whole life, the men get so enraged sometimes that they will
Mm-hmm.
like break their rackets into the ground, and nobody
I've
says
seen angry
anything. You know what
basketball
I mean?
players, and yeah, exactly, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy to me that a male can be so upset that he'll break his racket, but when Serena does it, it's like it's not sportsmanlike. It's like sorry, I don't want to be that vulgar. I was gonna say something rude, but it's like get out of here with that. Like it's just I just don't understand. But yeah, basically
The double standard.
it's, that's the double standard that goes
Mm-hmm.
on, and it's like that's exactly what happened to Serena, and it's like another thing to follow up on what you were saying. For me, it's like saying that a woman is going to act on her emotions. I don't understand where the negative connotation came from. Women are nurturing because of we act on our emotions. We're mothers because we act on our emotions. You know what I mean? We give so much of ourselves and our hearts because of the fact that we act on our emotions. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm just saying that perhaps maybe if there had been more female leaders along the way, there would have not been so many motherfucking wars. Because to my
I doubt it.
recollection, most of the wars that we've had in history were started by men. And it's like, yes, I've heard
All of them.
the stories and I've heard the history behind some ancient wars that were started
Yeah, like
over
yeah,
women
but
and like
modern
love
day,
triangles.
exactly.
But it was even if you started a war over a woman, you as a man still started that war. She didn't walk into the room one day and press the big red war button. You did because you were in your feelings over
He
something that
broke up
she,
with
you know what
me.
I'm saying? Like,
War.
you know what I'm saying? So it's like even in these situations in ancient time where wars were erupted over love triangles or over a woman or whatever the case may
Mm-hmm.
be. It's like, yeah, but that's still the man who chose to act upon his emotions. Not only that, did we not just have 4 years of watching a US president literally act off of nothing other than his emotions? No
Nothing
common
other
sense, no
than
logic,
emotion.
no education, no research or facts. Nothing. Just his own personal feelings about whatever the fuck. He chose to act based on that. So how more over emotional of a leader could you have? I mean,
Yep.
after
Yep.
that, after it's for me, it's the same thing. Like for me, after that, I would be comfortable having a woman because that was the most emotional president leader I've ever seen. Like that, like in my 28 years of life, I've never
Petty.
seen anything like that.
Petty. He was petty.
Oh
He
my
was just petty to me. Like
god.
there's so many situations where like this is the United States of America. People are entitled to people are going to talk about you whether you do good or bad. That's one thing I know about life and I understand wholeheartedly. People are going to talk about you whether you do good or you do bad. If they feel a way about you, they will always look at the glass half empty and not half full. And that's the part where you have to step in as a confident woman or a confident human being altogether and be like, I know myself, I know that's not the case, blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? So Donald
Mhm.
Trump did not demonstrate any of those qualities. Like he would be on Twitter, the second that like TikTok or one of those, like he tried to shut down TikTok and he tried to shut down any type of I heard recently that he fired I wish I had the article handy. That's my bad, but I read something about like he fired some I don't remember some a speaker came out and basically said that there's no proof that the election was rigged and that person was fired by
Of course
Monday.
not.
Like you know
Of course not. Because realistically, if you're paying attention, he had to have known that people were done enough with his shit that there was a possibility he was going to lose because he's been grooming his supporters to believe that if he loses, it's rigged for months now. He's been saying this. This is not new. He's been saying this for months. He's been saying, oh, we're gonna win 100%. There's no shadow of a doubt. And if we don't win, it's a fraud. It's the mail-in ballots. And he's saying that because he knows that the people who use the mail-in ballots are people who are following the rules of Corona. And those people are most likely not his motherfucking supporters because he didn't give a shit about Corona until he caught the shit. And that's if he caught the shit because there's a lot of people that are speculating that he only admitted to having Corona to try to win over the votes that he knew he wasn't going to get. So there's still a lot of people who are speculating whether or not he even had the shit or whether or not it was just a, a publicity stunt to gain more votes. Not only that, but 50 Cent who's another character that I'm not even gonna start to touch on. But he came out and said that his little 30 seconds of supporting Trump was because he was going back and forth on whether or not to accept the money that Trump's campaign had came and offered him to basically back him as the next president. And honestly, I don't care for half of the things that comes out of 50 Cent's mouth, but unfortunately, it's really ever a lie. So, you
yeah.
know what I'm saying? So it's like you have like whether you like a person or not, you have to respect them for who they are. And I don't know 50 Cent to say something out of his mouth without facts that and receipts that sometimes you're looking at the receipts like, how did you get your hands on this? You know what I'm saying? So it's like
I
everything
get it.
about what Trump has been doing for the last couple months is basically it basically coincides with how he has been taking his loss because I personally when I saw him talking like that before the election was even close to ending, I was like, oh, he's scared. He's shaking in his boots. He feels like there's a possibility he's going to lose because there's no reason that you would be hyping up your supporters to believe such nonsense if you
Yeah,
100% felt like you're going to win for sure. No doubt, I got this in
exactly.
the bag. You know what I'm saying? Like let's be real. Like there's why would you be hyping up this animosity and this aggression? And it's like I'm so happy he's gone. Thank you, Jesus. For all the people who are like, oh, a woman can't lead. Well, you know what? You guys had Donald Trump for 4 fucking years. So let's see. Let's just give
Yeah,
them a try
I'm
and
just
see.
yeah, I don't even know where
And
that
be grateful
notion
because the
or
last good
is
president that
coming
you
from.
had, yeah, like the last good president that you had for 8 years, and nobody appreciated him. Very, you know what I mean? Very few people had anything good to say about Obama by the time he left the office. And I don't know if it's because I'm Canadian and I didn't have the direct effects of whatever he changed in the US, but I was confused as to why the whole time. And then you ended up with Trump. So I don't know. For me, I shouldn't have complained so much the 8 years preceding Trump. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
Agree.
for now on, please be quiet about who you get. Like, I'm so sorry, but like from now on, like
Yep.
as long as it's not Trump and it's not anyone who's like Trump or who has any Trump values, please just be content. Because like I don't know, like I even like I'm so sorry to say this, but like there's a lot of Black Americans who were pissing me off with this. Kamala Harris doesn't claim her Black. She doesn't have to. Her mom is East
Can
Indian.
we
She
touch
grew up,
base?
I'm
Ooh,
pretty
can we
sure,
touch base?
on the more East Indian side
Can
of her family. I am a West
can
Indian
we
born
touch
child,
base?
and though
Yes.
both of my parents are from the same country, when you have a lot of the times, and I'm so sorry to put my West Indian men out there like that, but a lot of the times when you have a baby that is half West Indian, half anything else, and the father is West Indian, I'm not saying that West Indian fathers are not good fathers, but unfortunately, a lot of them come to America and Canada and lose their goddamn common sense because a lot of the times the babies end up more closer to whatever culture their mother is. And it's
Hmm.
not all the time, but I see it a lot. I know a lot of people personally who are like half this, half West Indian, and their dad is the West Indian side. And they may know their father, they may have even grown up around their father, but they're still closer to their mother's culture. For whatever reason, that's just what it is. And sometimes it's the opposite. But you can't force this person. She's not even black. She's mixed race. She's mixed race. I'm sorry, but she's mixed race.
Exactly.
Yes, she's a
And
black
I just
woman,
want to
but she
know
is mixed race, and she's allowed
at which point
to identify with what
she
she
never
identifies with.
but when has she, like, I don't know, like if I'm missing something, but like this is what people are like, oh, she's only claiming black. She's not claiming anything. She talks about her
She hasn't
heritage.
claimed
She
anything.
talks she hasn't claimed anything. She claims what she is, which is my mom is this, my dad is this, I come from this kind of a family. Da, da, da. She hasn't claimed. That's the part where people, y'all are the ones, society and people, everyone is the ones, as always, looking at her and looking at whoever's in the public eye and just painting this image and this idea and making assumptions about, oh, she's walking around saying she's black now all of a sudden. First of all, have you been around her whole life to know what she has identified as prior to and currently? That's the part, you know what I mean? Like, have you been around her? Second of all, as a person who is um active and has a lot of like friends in the African American community, I love y'all, but y'all don't claim anything else other than
Mm.
whoever is black and was born here and doesn't know their ancestry. That's what it is. Like, you guys don't claim I'm black as mother, as I am from
Facts.
Africa, mother and father, but y'all wouldn't necessarily say I'm black because I wasn't born in this country. I have to say I'm Canadian or I'm Congolese. That's because I know my ancestry. But nonetheless, to these bigots and these fucking
Hmm.
white people out there who are racist and they don't give a shit. They're not like, oh, you're different because you were born in Canada and you, they don't give a fuck before you even open your mouth and say anything. They see you, they look at you up and down, and they already paint an image of who you are before you get a chance. So
Oh
that's
yeah,
where we
they
need
don't
to come in
care.
and unite. Stop being like, I've had so many
Hmm.
people come to me and be like, but she's not really, well, she's not, well, she's claiming black now, or she's not. It doesn't fucking matter. First of all, she never claimed to be anything other than what she is, which is her heritage. She is blessed to know where she comes from. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, because of
Hmm.
slavery and fucking everyone not knowing where they're from and who their ancestors are and where exactly they came from in Africa, you're black American or you're Caribbean, or you know what I mean, because you were ripped of that. You were, that was
And
stolen from you. And it's the
part for
same for
me
the
is like,
Caribbean people, just like it's the same for the fucking Americans. But it's like a girl can come from Trinidad and be here in her country. She's black, you know. They're, you know what I mean. She's Trini black or whatever the case may be. You come here, it's like, but you're not black. What?
but
Like
you're
when
West
she walks,
Indian, and it's like,
you're, oh,
no, bitch.
but when you
It's
walk
like
into,
I like.
Yep.
Like I
It's
remember
crazy.
like when
Hmm.
one of the like one of the first few times, a couple times I think I've been to DC with you, Mel, where we were having a conversation with one person or another who makes the comment of like, "Oh, where are you from?" And then I tell them, I'm by way of Barbados, and they're like, "Oh, okay, I knew you weren't black. You don't look black. You look like you're like from one of those West Indian countries." And I'm always dumbfounded because it's like, okay, I get what you mean, but at the same time, it's like if you take a flight to Barbados, you gonna see black people who
Hmm.
are blacker than you, and black people who you cannot tell them you're not black, you're West Indian, because they're gonna look at you and like you're fucking crazy because they
Yeah, they're like,
identify as
okay.
being black. You don't get to like yeah, like what do you mean? And the thing is like
And who made y'all the
I'm not
black
like
police? Who made y'all the black police? Like that's
that's
the part I want to know. Like who made y'all the black police? Like who gave y'all the trophy or the like designated y'all as the people who get to select who's black from who's not based on what? Half of the time, black
mm,
people didn't even want to claim black until fucking Black Panther came out and it was Wakanda this and Wakanda that. Because I remember booty
mm-hmm,
African booty scratcher. Because I remember
mm.
freaking booty scratcher. I remember
Damn.
nobody even, oh, I'm 30% Indian. Everybody went out of their way to not claim
Mm-hmm,
black. Everybody went
mm-hmm.
out of their way to, oh, well, I am but pretty hair this and light skin that and green eyes that and mixed babies this were fetishized within the black community. So please,
Yep.
please spare us the fucking bullshit. Now that there's someone with some type of percentage of black in them, in the fucking White
Mm-hmm,
House. Applaud that shit. We came a
mm-hmm.
long way. I'm sick and tired of people just always trying to find the glass half empty rather than half full, looking for something to talk about. And it's the same people who sit on their ass and don't do shit about making change in this world. It's the same, it's those people. That's the part that pisses me off the most. Sorry to get loud, but it's just because I've had so many. It's the people who didn't vote. It's the people who were like, oh, the election is rigged anyway. Was it? Because Biden won. Was it?
Mm.
How do you feel now? It was rigged.
And
It's just
quite frankly, if the election was rigged
mhm.
for Biden to win, that
Yeah.
makes me feel better about America and whoever the
Yeah,
hell is
great.
rigging the
It seems like the
elections,
people who
because
are rigging the
that person
election
was
are
back
on the
there
right.
like, oh no, let's get Trump out of here. I know that that's
Right?
what
They're
y'all
like, let's
want me
get
to
this
do, but
monkey
it's
out of
not
here.
working. You know what I'm saying? Like
Exactly.
that for me, like I like again, I don't want to sound ignorant. I don't want to offend anybody. I'm not, you know, American, and I wasn't taught all of the rules and regulations of politics, but just based off common fucking sense. Okay, if the election was rigged, first of all, I'm pretty sure that Donald Trump would have won. And
Yeah.
if it is rigged, and Biden is the person who was meant to win off of it being rigged, that makes me feel 0.1% better about America and whoever is behind the scenes, Wizard of Ozing the votes. Okay? I don't want to hear no nonsense. We got rid of Trump, bon débarras, on to the next thing. Like, let's be real. Did you want 4 more years of Trump? What are you complaining about? Do you know that
Exactly.
there are thousands of children and parents who don't know where each other are because
Exactly.
Trump decided to rip them from each other and lock them up in camps like they did something to somebody?
Yeah.
That's a crime for
It is.
no
It's
reason. You rip
disgusting.
children from their parents and you can't even reunite some of them
And they
now.
didn't even get like a
Lost
proper or
the lost
humanitarian
information.
process. It wasn't even done in like it should not have been done at all. But if for whatever reason the laws of this country, which I can't control, we didn't even vote on, or all of this came way before any of us were even a thought. So if the laws of this country are this and that, cool, okay, you can't be here if you don't have legal status. That's how most countries around the world are. Okay, but every other country I'm pretty sure isn't like, let me barge into your house and snatch you up. And there's a process here. You have to do this and you have to do that. And here's, there's a process to go through, and there's hope,
Not
and there's
only that, like, can we just talk about the fact that white Americans are the main motherfuckers who be packing up their shit and moving to somebody else's country and living there
Yep.
You know what I mean, buying houses and investing in real estate and living their fancy ass life, and nobody looks
Half
into
of
their
them are
citizenship.
immigrants too.
Nobody's
They're all immigrants.
nobody.
White
Thank
people are
you.
claiming they're
Nobody's
not immigrants.
dragging
They
them.
stole this land anyways. They're immigrants too. Half of
Thank
them are
you.
like, my grandfather was second generation Irish. My great grandfather was third generation Italian. Somebody always came from somewhere else. Somebody always came from somewhere else. And just like you were born in this country, that child whose parent you're taking from somewhere, that's your dad, or that's your mom, or that's your grandfather whose father was Irish, or
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean, who immigrated here on a fucking Titanic boat
Mm-hmm.
and got to New York and fucking, had to make
Um,
a life for themselves. And that's your
let's
ancestry. Like,
just
understand that.
not only that, Trump's bloodline is not even fucking American. Trump's bloodline is not American.
Wow.
His bloodline is not American. I'll
Wow.
Google that shit right now. I bet you $100. His bloodline is not American. Either his
Yeah, he has to
grandfather
be.
or his great grandfather came from somewhere with a potato and some change in his
Thank
motherfucking
you.
pocket
It's
and
always
built
That's
a
always the story.
franchise.
It's always, every time you hear the
And
story
I'm
of
not
any
talking out of
kind
my
of
ass
big
because I've
CEO.
read Trump's story many times. I just
Oh yeah.
don't care enough to retain the information. But I know for a fact that one of his great granddaddies came from somewhere with nothing in their pockets and built a franchise to pass down to his greedy, ungrateful fucking ass. So he is the bloodline of immigrants. Not only that, I can't understand a word that his wife be talking about. So I know right there
Thank
that's not an
you.
American citizen.
What kind of
That's
useless
not someone who
fucking
was
first
born and
lady
raised in
was that
America. Come
anyways?
on,
Like,
bro. Stop that.
what kind of
Stop
useless
it.
first lady was that? He should have fucking deported her. Shit. You want to
Thank you.
deport something? Like, what the fuck? Hardworking people, like, who take care of them kids and pay
Damn.
taxes. Pay taxes as as undocumented immigrants or as documented immigrants. Like, pay taxes. A green card might have expired, and your incompetent workers or might have been, or overwhelmed workers, because they might receive a lot of fucking applications for 90-day fiance or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes the process is stalled, and it's just like, you can't come into a house and forget that above the law we are children of God, and that means that this person is like you. Okay, I see the 10-minute the 10-minute clock. Just let me finish my point real quick because I was getting lost in
Yeah,
it.
go
But
ahead.
what I hate the most about it is the fact that people come in, and it's just like, you come into a household and you see a child, I don't know, doing their homework, or like, that the parent has to pick up their child from school, and you're just like, I don't care. It is what it is. You weren't supposed to be here. What am I doing? Am I
Mm-hmm.
killing people? Am I raping babies? What am I doing? What am I doing? You have a whole president in that White House disrespecting every single human being in this country, disrespecting veterans, disrespecting the elderly, and he is one of them, disrespecting the black community, the Latino community, disrespecting China, disrespecting Africa, calling countries with black people shithole countries, disrespecting everybody, but y'all just can't seem to find it in your freaking head that this man is a bad person and he needs to be removed. Like, it's like, no, the election was
Mm-hmm.
rigged. No, it has been a terrible time. We want him to go. And that is where I ended with
No,
that.
this man rigged your brain with brainwashing. That's what happened.
Yeah, no,
Like
something ain't
I don't
right.
understand how many people how I don't understand like these people who have picked up their lives and dedicated to supporting Trump. Y'all obviously didn't have a purpose before this, and I don't know. I pray for you afterwards because it's he's not gonna be there too much longer. So count the days while you can. Get your racist
Mm-hmm.
insults in while you can because it's not gonna
Yep.
last too much longer. Y'all been pushing people, and after Biden gets into office, if y'all really think you're gonna walk around insulting and carrying people the way you have, be prepared to get punched in the forehead, and that's that on that. Next topic, because we
Oh
only
yeah.
have 10 minutes left. I'm so glad we
Um.
used up our whole talking about that yellow
Yeah. No,
man.
but I
But
think it was
shout
very
outs to
interesting though.
Biden. Yeah, no, me
Shout
too.
outs to
Me too.
Biden. Yep.
And
I'm really
Kamala
happy. I think,
Harris.
and
Congratulations
Kamala
to them.
Harris, happy. That moment really just warmed my heart. Honestly, it was the sunniest, most
Yeah.
beautiful weekend of my life. of this
It
year.
was a
You know what I
beautiful
mean? It was
weekend.
one of the most beautiful all around the world. I don't know. We wanted to talk about Megan Thee Stallion's new album, Good News, but I guess that honestly, the election was the recap for November. Like that's pretty
It
much what we talked
was.
about.
Yeah, we
I
can.
guess
We'll do something else. I guess, and sometime this weekend we can continue
yeah,
to
hopefully,
recap or
like I
something.
said, I'm finally kind of like more stable at this point. And so anything after 10 p.m. works for me because I'm literally just by myself around that time. So
Perfect. So, with 5 minutes left, I just want to mention very, 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 very quickly. Mel and I were talking about this today. If you are looking for something interesting to watch, please watch Trial 4 on
woo,
Netflix.
baby,
It,
baby.
oh my God, it is really,
It's
really, really good. It is the story of Sean K. Ellis.
mm-hmm.
Basically a black man who was incarcerated for a crime that he very obviously did not commit. He was put on death row. He served 22 years, and they basically go through the whole story, the case, how he ended up on death row. He went through multiple trials, hence the name. And
Yep.
basically, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but um, I will say I brought this up also to say this. This I don't know what the background of Rosemary, who is the lawyer who essentially
Oh, I love
comes
her.
to Sean's aid. Um, I don't know what her background is, if she comes from like an Italian background or an Irish background because they're in Boston. But it doesn't even matter. She seems like she's a white woman, and throughout watching this documentary, I do have to say that it was beautiful. And it was a beautiful reminder that no matter what's going on in the world right now, as much as white people are being shitted on and dragged for filth, they're not all horrible people. And I know that, like I say this all the time, sometimes I do feel kind of bad for them because it must suck to be a person who may not have any malintent, but you get looked at in a fucked up way because your whole entire race has done fucked up things since the beginning of
And
time.
it's beautiful that you
And
can
it's
have this
like,
empathy
I
because they
feel
don't have
bad,
it
but
for
not too
us.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just about to say, I feel bad, but not too bad, only because we get judged for the color of our skin and things that have nothing to do with us just based on your preconceived
Yeah.
notions. But it's
But
just
it's
when I
beautiful
see
that you
white
feel
people
that you
like
that's
this,
normal, you know.
yeah, when I see white people like Rosemary, it reminds me that even if there's 100 people that are against you, there's always going to be one that is for you.
Amen.
And it may
Amen.
not be your black brother or sister. It may not be your best friend from a long years ago. It may not be any of the people you expect. It may be the one person that you don't expect. So it's like,
Yep.
I really, really think that this is good material to watch. It's such a touching story. You're going to be upset. You're going to be happy. You're going to be sad. It's going to play with your emotions.
Yeah.
It's really going to give an amazing insight on how fucked up the judicial system is in America, especially in the South.
Yep. Yep. So that was a beautiful way to end it, honestly. Again, the docu series is called Trial 4. It's on Netflix. Very insightful, beautiful story, beautiful ending. Terrible, 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 terrible experience. All in all, like what the fuck. But all in all, I guess that's that for this episode. And you can follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube. Vicky's really good at this. I don't know why I started. YouTube, on Spotify, uh,
Twitter, Instagram,
TikTok. Okay.
Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, SoundCloud, um, Apple Music. I'm not Apple Music, Apple Podcasts. Who do I think I am? Apple Music.
Is that-
But yeah, anywhere where you can usually find podcasts, that's where we're at. Crazy Bitch Factory Inc. DM us, please, your comments, feedback, questions. Crazy Bitch Factory Inc. on Instagram in the DMs for right now, and we will see you again when we see you again. Bye.
All right. Bye.